Glitch just released the first episode of its new show, Knights of Guinevere, and I want to talk about the hidden story within it about the evils of the Disney Corporation. The show, of course, is not made by Disney, nor would they let something be made that frames them in such a bad light, but instead, the series is created along with other names by Dana Terrace, previously known for her work on The Owl House for Disney Channel. This was an amazing show aimed at kids, but with a lot of meat for adults to dig into, so go check out my big mythological breakdown right here on the channel if you haven't seen it yet, as it came out just the other day. But with Knights of Gwen, we get a show that's aimed a lot more at an adult audience, and really looking back at Dana's time at Disney and everything wrong with it. To start, Knights of Gwen takes place in a futuristic world where it seems that there are multiple planets with human populations on them, with one planet being called Park Planet in particular. This planet is the home to the floating theme parks where we get to meet our character Gwen, an animatronic kids mascot very similar to the Disney princesses over at the Disney Corporation, but with just one face to be every single princess. The whole show seems to be playing with the clean visual that Disney puts out for itself while showing the dark reality of how the corporation actually operates. In a situation that's meant to feel sci-fi and in the future, but which still feels dangerously close to what's going on with our planet today. Now, the pilot opened with a narration about Gwen herself being trapped there and one day needing to be rescued, hinting at the idea that she's sort of this cosmic idea being trapped in this robotic form. It's important to remember that anyone can make a new show or a new franchise about a princess, but Disney almost has a copyright on that vibe, if you understand what I mean. It's a company that has been making princess films for so long that it's kind of what they're defined by, even if it's not necessarily the bulk of their products these days. After introducing us to Gwen and having her fall from her tower, however, the show switches over to two of our human characters, Andy and Frankie. Andy and Frankie look like they grew up being big fans of Gwen, just like a lot of children on their planet would, just like children in our world grow up being fans of Disney princesses. And to some degree, I think we can see a bit of Dana Terrace in the character of Andy. Now, this story takes place in a distant future, but it's meant to mirror our time now, where Disney has taken over the entertainment landscape, not just having animated movies about princesses these days, but also other big brands like Star Wars and Marvel. It's getting to a point where after buying Fox, they're beginning to feel like a monopoly that's going to take over our planet, and as you can see in this pilot, that can look very bad. For Park Planet, their entire worldwide economy seems to be supported by these theme parks. But with the goal of a corporation like this being to make more money, it inevitably ends up destroying everything around it, trying to pull more and more profit for itself. We see this when Andy and Frankie grow up, with Andy becoming what is known as a crownie, someone who actually works at the theme park. Though as Andy says, she's still a victim of the theme park just like everyone else on the planet is. And it seems that outside of children who would enjoy the franchise of Guinevere, everyone else sees this corporation as something destroying their planet, but which they have to put up with in order to keep surviving. For Andy, this means doing way too much work in a single night just because her boss tells her to, and it's because that's what the theme park needs. And for Frankie, this means taking on various jobs, such as working in a factory where she has to mass produce merchandise that just gets sold later, and scour the ocean for any scrap metal that can be repurposed to make more merch. While here, we even see that at Park Planet, people just throw all of their trash over the edges of their floating park, leading to a lot of pollution making it into the ocean and likely affecting everyone's lives. Now, all of this feels like a parallel for Dana's experience, who likely grew up as just as big a fan of Disney princesses as anyone else. Like Andy and even Frankie in the show, Dana would not have realized the darkness of this corporation and would dream of growing up and one day having her own Disney cartoon, which of course is exactly what she ended up doing. With these characters in Knights of Gwen, however, we get to see the kind of realistic version of Dana's story, when Andy questions why Frankie would really want to become a crownie like her. Frankie says she remembers sneaking into the park as a kid, meaning they didn't even have the money to really go there like other children did, but their experience with the android Gwen there really imprinted on her. This is something that not just Dana has been through, but it's something a lot of us have been through with our first trips to Disneyland or Disney World as kids. Despite how dark the world is because of Gwen and the corporation that controls her, Frankie just wants to do something that gives other people that same feeling she had. A glimpse of magic in a world that is very much dying. It's the same reason someone goes to work at Disney today, to make a show for kids, even if you see Disney as just another corporation slowly running the earth into the ground for profit. As unfortunately, when one or just a few corporations or studios take control of the entire system, you have no choice but to work through them. And this is where we start to get to the heart of the story in Knights of Gwen. It's while working at the job to get scrap for merchandise that Frankie comes across an android of Gwen that fell from the park, and she gets the hopeful idea that if she can fix it up and deliver it back herself, she could get a job like Andy as a real engineer, a step up from her current life even if still not glamorous. This requires Frankie and Andy to make a deal with another character named Sparky, who I believe might actually be related to Frankie in some way and seems to have doled out punishments on her since she was young, including ripping out Frankie's teeth in order to get her to comply. Unfortunately, even with this deal in place, it looks like the original builder of Gwen wants her android back and clearly has something special in mind for her beyond just being a theme park robot. Because of this, she sends one of her own guards down to try and retrieve Gwen, but when Gwen needs to, she steps in to save Andy and Frankie from it. It's in this battle that we realize Gwen is much more than just an android meant to talk to people at a theme park. And she is even stronger in her broken state than other robots who seem specifically designed to fight. This could be on purpose in order to have an android ready to protect children if anything went wrong at the park, but I think the more likely explanation, especially with Gwen falling apart here, is that her original creator built her with this for special reasons, maybe even just to protect herself, as she's clearly very protective of her. But in general, it all hints at Gwen maybe having a bigger purpose beyond what she was originally designed for. The episode ends with the characters getting Gwen back and rebooting her, and setting up the interesting dynamic that inverts the idea of the Knights of Gwen. Traditionally, when someone is a knight, they are there to protect you. But in this case, it's actually Guinevere who's protecting her knights. As the series progresses, I imagine more and more robots are going to come after them, and it's going to be Gwen who does all of the actual fighting, with Andy and Frankie, the knights, actually being responsible for repairing her. Now, of course, with this being on some level about the audience's interaction with Disney and perhaps Dana's relationship with Disney, this cartoon isn't just going to rip on Disney, but rather get into how the creative spirit of the world is being held hostage by it and other studios. With Frankie, we get a parallel to what the world is like today, a place where there are very few studios that actually offer opportunities for people to tell stories that matter to others. With Frankie, she just wants to share magic any way she can, but the only outlet that is given to her is Gwen. And just like a child growing up wanting to make their own cartoon, Disney may seem like the only viable option. Even if there are technically a few other places like Cartoon Network or Nickelodeon, there's just very few studios giving very few people the opportunity to tell their own stories. Disney and other studios essentially control what gets made, at least until recently with more indie developments coming into play. But by having that control over what gets made, they also control what's said during those productions, censoring the ideas and the voices of the people they actually hire to create these shows. With Glitch, we get the metaphor for Dana escaping Disney, to finally achieve what she was meant to achieve without a corporation coming in to profit off of her. Don't get me wrong, Glitch does make money off of these shows, but at the indie level, it's being done in order to create opportunities for more shows to be made by other people. And they're specifically giving people a chance to tell stories their ways, instead of forcing them through some corporate machine where very little is okay for a wider audience. But of course, this is just one layer to the show and my very first immediate thoughts. Many of you were already talking about how you can't wait for my mythological breakdown, but I also can't wait to talk about some of the other characters, like this mysterious little girl Olivia, and I even really want to dive deeper into the story of Frankie because there's something so fun there. So subscribe because I'll be putting these videos out all week, and please go watch our video on the mythology of the Owl House if you haven't yet, as there's a lot of hints in there of where Knights of Guinevere is going, as the two share a lot of symbolism already. Link is in the pinned comment down below and in the pop-up here at the end of the video. See you guys next time.